Dwayne "Dog" Chapman used to be the most famous bounty hunter in the United States. I want you to ask Mexico to forgive us. Ready? Don't tell me I can't watch a famous person on reality TV. He was on the show Dog the Bounty Hunter and was known for his tough personality, dramatic chases, and ability to change criminals. But after years at the height of his fame, Chapman slowly faded from view due to personal loss, legal problems, and worsening health. His life has been filled with tragedy. The death of his wife Beth Chapman left a huge hole in his life, and scandals in his career severely hurt his reputation. So what really happened? This is the story of his rise to fame and the events that changed his life. Dog will always be the bounty hunter. Dwayne Lee Chapman was born on February 2, 1953, in Denver, Colorado. He grew up in a poor home. His father was a strict and disciplined former Navy man, and his mother was a devout Christian. Dog's childhood was anything but easy. He grew up in a harsh place where strength and resilience were important for life. His father taught him to be tough, and his mother had strict religious beliefs. Together, these things made him a man of opposites who didn't have any emotional support and was easily swayed by his surroundings. Chapman quickly became involved in violence and rebellion. When he was a teenager, he ran away from home and joined the Devil's Disciples motorcycle gang, which was known for doing illegal things all over the country. To him, the gang was more like a family, and power was based on loyalty and strength. Chapman learned quickly and started smuggling stolen goods and fighting in armed battles. As Axis saw was the rule of the game in his world, something happened in 1976 that changed everything. During a criminal operation, one of Chapman's friends shot and killed a man who was waiting in the car. Chapman was sentenced to 5 years in prison at Texas State Penitentiary, which was one of the harshest prisons at the time, and the first few months were terrible. Texas prisons were not for the weak. Every mistake could mean death, and he was forced to learn how to survive with toughness and wit. But this was also where he began to change. A fellow inmate, a former priest, warned him that the gang life led to only 2 fates: dying in a shootout or rotting in prison. Those words, combined with long periods of reflection, made Chapman realize he had taken the wrong path in prison. His perspective on life shifted. He became a prison warden's assistant, a special role given to inmates responsible for maintaining order. He helped prevent gang conflicts and kept the peace among prisoners. It was also here that he first encountered the bounty hunting profession when he assisted guards in stopping an inmate from escaping. This sparked a thought in him: instead of being a criminal, he could hunt them down. After 18 months, Chapman was granted parole and released early. As he walked out of the prison gates, he was no longer the same Dwayne Chapman, the rebellious biker gang member. He stepped forward with a new mindset, determined to change his life and make amends for his past mistakes. But how could a former convict start over? He had no formal education, no stable job, and his criminal record followed him like a shadow. Chapman wandered for a while, trying various jobs to make ends meet: construction work, security guard duties, and manual labor, but nothing felt like his true calling. Then an unexpected opportunity arose. A friend asked him to track down a tour, and Chapman caught the man within minutes. The first time in his life he felt like he had found a job that truly suited him, one that combined his street survival skills with the lessons he had learned in prison. At that moment he knew he was born to be a bounty hunter, and from there the journey of Dog the Bounty Hunter officially began. The birth of Dog the Bounty Hunter. Having spent years on the streets and in prison, Chapman became a bounty hunter, which is a legal job in the U.S. that allows licensed individuals to find criminals who are evading the law in exchange for a reward. He had a unique understanding of criminal psychology and knew where criminals might hide and how to plan their next move for him. He used this job as a chance to make up for his mistakes by catching people who had gone down the wrong path. In the beginning, he mostly worked for bail bond companies on small jobs to find fugitives. But Chapman didn't just chase criminals, he developed his own style. Instead of just catching them and handing them over to the police, he tried to talk to them, giving them a chance to see their mistakes. He thought that people like him who had gone down the wrong path could still change if given the right help. This made him stand out in the world of bounty hunting. World tough and caring, Chapman's name grew in the business, but his biggest break came in 2003, when he pulled off a daring capture that made headlines across the country. The next hunt would be the most important event in his life. Andrew Luster, the grandson of Max Factor's founder, was found guilty of multiple counts of rape and sexual assault and given a 124-year prison sentence. Luster then ran away from the courtroom and disappeared, becoming one of America's most wanted fugitives. Federal authorities and law enforcement were searching for him non-stop, but they couldn't find him. At the time, Chapman was working as a bounty hunter on his own and decided to go after Luster on his own. After months of relentless pursuit, he found Luster hiding in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with his son and his team. Chapman came up with a plan to catch him, and in June 2003, they successfully ambushed and captured Luster on the streets of Mexico. However, instead of being praised as a hero, Chapman got in trouble with the local authorities. The Mexican police, who did not allow bounty hunting on their territory, arrested Chapman and his team for illegal detention. He was later freed and allowed to return to the U.S., but the incident caused a lot of legal controversy and put Chapman at risk of being sent back to Mexico. Despite the legal problems, the Luster capture made him famous, and soon Hollywood became interested in his dramatic story. AIN offered Chapman to make a reality show about his work as a bounty hunter. The first episode of Dog the Bounty Hunter aired in 2004 and put viewers right in the middle of intense, suspenseful, and deeply emotional criminal pursuits. The show quickly became a phenomenon, with people drawn not only to the heart-pounding chases but also to Chapman's character. He wasn't just a cold-hearted bounty hunter who relied only on brute force, he had a unique ability to convince and change criminals. Sometimes his conversations with the fugitives after they were caught were even more powerful than the high-speed chases. He told them to change their ways and reminded them that it wasn't too late for a second chance. In addition to Chapman, the show also had his wife Beth Chapman, who was not only his life partner but also a trusted business partner. Chapman, the unyielding enforcer, and Beth, the sharp, no-nonsense strategist, made a great team. Within a few years, they were the heart of the show, with millions of people tuning in every week. Dog the Bounty Hunter turned Chapman from a normal bounty hunter into a reality TV star. He went on major talk shows, spoke at high-profile events, and even became a pop culture icon for years. The show recorded hundreds of captures, ranging from minor bail jumpers to dangerous criminals. Chapman and his team not only tracked down fugitives but also used psychological techniques to get them to come clean. The heated arguments, the words of support after an arrest, and the tears of families all contributed to an intense and emotional story. However, fame came with difficult questions. Chapman was no longer a mysterious figure who worked in the background. He was now a well-known person whose every move was watched closely. In the beginning, there were issues and scandals. He would soon learn that being in the spotlight had a cost. A life turned tragic in 2019. Dwayne "Dog" Chapman's life changed forever when Beth Chapman, his wife and loyal partner, passed away after a long battle with stage 4 throat cancer. Her death didn't just take away the woman he loved most, it shattered a part of him for years. Beth had been more than just his wife, she was the anchor that kept him grounded, the one who helped him manage his temper, impulsive decisions, and the relentless chaos of bounty hunting. Even as her health deteriorated, Beth refused to surrender to her illness easily. She continued to participate in bounty hunts, maintaining her trademark toughness and determination, but as the disease progressed rapidly, all efforts to fight it became futile. Her final days were filled with pain and exhaustion. She remained strong, for her husband Chapman stayed by her side trying to mask his pain, but it was evident to everyone that he was falling apart when she took her last breath. A part of him died with her in the aftermath of Bet's passing. Chapman suffered severe chest pains and was rushed to the hospital. Tests revealed that he had a serious heart. As a man who had built his reputation on strength and endurance, this was a situation that needed surgery right away. Terrible blow. He had been after criminals for decades and survived many dangerous encounters, but after surgery, his body had turned against him and was now its worst enemy. Chapman had to face a harsh new reality. He was no longer the invincible figure that people knew him to be. He had to slow down because of exhaustion, lingering pain, and physical decline, even though his spirit resisted it. The once fiery man who dominated the screen was now frail, emotionally broken, and struggling to find the will to continue the work he and Beth had built together. He neglected his health, which led to depression, and for months he lost the motivation to keep going. But grief wasn't the only problem he had to deal with. Throughout his career, Chapman had been involved in a number of scandals because of how outspoken and aggressive he was. However, Beth had always been by his side and kept the damage from getting worse, but now that she was gone, the holes in his reputation started to get bigger. One of his biggest scandals happened in 2007 when a tape was leaked showing Chapman using racial slurs while talking about his son's girlfriend. The audio quickly went viral, causing a lot of anger, and Dog was quickly suspended. Chapman had to say sorry in public, saying that he wasn't racist and that his words had been misread. But for the first time, the man who had built a career on finding criminals would never get his reputation back. People were harsh on breakers because of what they saw. Chapman had been trying to rebuild his career for years when the past came back to haunt him again in 2021. His new show Dog, Unleashed, was cancelled just before its premiere because of new claims of racist comments and gun law violations. Chapman denied all the accusations, but it didn't help his reputation. Producers cut ties with him, and doors that had been open in the reality TV industry started to close. At the height of his career, Chapman and Beth had built a strong empire based on their lucrative bounty hunting contracts and TV show sponsorships. But after B's death, Chapman's finances became more unstable because the big TV deals were gone and so were the debts they racked up during their years of excess. He was also involved in multiple lawsuits, and some former employees sued him for unpaid wages. Others accused him of mismanaging the family's assets after B's death, and these legal problems made things even worse for him. He had to deal with not only the pain of loss but also a lot of financial and legal problems after a string of scandals and issues. Chapman was slowly pushed to the edges of an industry that he used to rule. Producers stopped wanting to work with him, and networks that used to eagerly air his shows stopped doing so. The man who had once captivated millions of people was now on the outside looking in. Chapman tried to make a comeback. Even though he did interviews, appeared on smaller shows, and tried to stay in the media, none of it was enough to bring him back to his old fame while he still had a strong fan base. People would never recognize the man who used to be at the top of the entertainment world. Chapman was now faced with a harsh truth. Because of his past mistakes, emotional losses, and the TV industry's rejection, he was almost doomed to fail. Dog the Bounty Hunter is about to start the last part of his career as a bounty hunter. Bounty hunting was more than just a job, it was his identity, the one thing that had kept him afloat and away from the shadows of his past. So though his declining health, he was determined to return to television. In 2019 he launched Dog's Most Wanted, a new show designed to revive the brand he had built. This time the show focused on tracking down America's most dangerous fugitives, with Chapman's old team reuniting for the mission. But what made this series different was that Beth was also part of it. Appearing in the early episodes despite battling terminal cancer for Chapman, this comeback was not just a career opportunity, it was a way to preserve BET's memory. He wanted Dog's Most Wanted to stand as a testament to their shared strength and resilience, proving that even after Beth's passing their legacy would continue. But it was far harsher than he had anticipated. Dog's Most Wanted failed to achieve the success Chapman had hoped for. It couldn't replicate the explosive impact that Dog the Bounty Hunter once had. Part of the reason was a shift in audience preferences. Another was that Chapman no longer carried the same commanding presence. His declining health made the chase sequences less thrilling. The energized man with flowing blonde hair who dove headfirst into intense pursuits was no longer there. Instead, Chapman moved more slowly and tiredly, and the adrenaline-fueled excitement that used to captivate viewers started to fade. After only one season, the show was cancelled. Chapman tried to get his career back on track but failed, which pushed him deeper into the void left by BET's death. But Chapman's problems weren't just with his job and health, his personal life also became a mess of scandals. He couldn't handle being alone after BET's death, even though he had promised himself he would never love another woman again. A year after she died, he made it known that he was dating Francie Fr., a widow from Colorado. Francie was used to sadness, her husband had also died of cancer, and their shared grief made them close. Within months, Chapman proposed, but the choice caused a huge backlash. Some of Chapman's fans and BET's family were furious and said he was moving on too soon. They said he wasn't mourning long enough and was trying to fill the void with a quick relationship. Some of BET's family even spoke out against him in public, saying he had betrayed her memory. When Chapman married Francie in September 2021, he said that she had given him a reason to live again by pulling him out of the darkness and showing him that life must go on. But many people still couldn't forget Beth for the advances she had made in his career, no matter what he said. His health is getting worse and there is trouble surrounding him. Chapman wasn't the famous dog the bounty hunter of the past. He used to have fame, fortune, a stable career, and a partner who was there for him through it all. Now he only had his name and a history that fewer and fewer people remembered, even though he wasn't doing dangerous hunts anymore. Chapman sometimes helped catch fugitives when asked by old coworkers. With decades of experience, he moved into a mentoring role for a new generation of bounty hunters. He was no longer on the front lines, but he kept a close eye on the business after he married Francie. When Chapman was busy with work and always on the lookout for criminals, his life took a dramatic change. He was now more concerned with his own happiness. Francie gave Chapman a sense of peace he had never felt before. They traveled together and saw places Chapman had never thought of going. He stopped living a life that was always on the edge and learned to enjoy the little things. They went to religious events and settled down in Colorado, where he finally found peace after years of turmoil. In recent years, Chapman has started working on smaller media projects. He has been on podcasts, given interviews, and written books about his experiences to help people who had lost their way, just like he had. He isn't the reality TV star he used to be, but he is still a big deal. Fans who have been with Chapman since the beginning have continued to follow his journey, curious about his life after the height of his fame. There aren't many chances of a full-on comeback, his age and health keep him from bounty hunting like he used to, and the entertainment industry has moved on from the reality TV style that made him famous. But for Chapman, the most important thing is that he keeps going. He may not be Dog the Bounty Hunter anymore, but he is still Chapman. Dwayne Chapman, a man who has been through storms, wouldn't stay down and is still looking for a new way. Tell us what you think about Chapman's journey in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on alerts for new videos.